Hey, this is BJ Shea from 99.9 KISW in Seattle. Who's this Ryan Hoppe? And why is he on my radio? And super rich? Let me tell you something. They wish they were super rich, or at least kind of rich. Semi-rich? I don't know. Semi-rich would be a great name. Hi, everybody. I'm Ryan Hoppe, and he's semi-rich. Or filthy rich? How about ratchet rich? There you go. I like that one. All right. They probably won't use this, will they? Well, they should. You know why? Because it's gold, bitches. Gold.
What up? What is happening? This isn't Happy Hour. No. This is the original show that gave me my swagger and built me as a radio host. It is the Hoppe and Super Rich show. I'm Ryan Hoppe.
I'm Ryan Steprich.
Dude, it's been a minute since we said that. How the hell have you been, Super Rich?
I've been pretty good. I know you've been doing some good things in Florida, so that's good. And you got your own podcast going. And, yeah, I think things are going pretty good for us.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's weird because I want to set this up so that people know what's going on and what the Hoppe and Super Rich show is. Before I moved to Cleveland, I went to a radio school for a year. And I met this guy named Andrew Freeman, and he's a great guy. I have nothing against him. But we did this show at WNUR 89.3, which is Northwestern University. I mean, the show was all right, but we didn't really gel. But me and the guy on the phone line, Super Rich, Ryan, we did the Friday Sports Riot. And, dude, we interviewed over 40 guests in sports media talking about sports. Do you remember that by any chance?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had a lot of really good interviews, and we did a lot of really cool interviews, and we were sort of a hybrid show there.
And we will get to that in a bit. But Hoppe and Freeman didn't really last long. I mean, it was like 2 months or even less. And me and Freeman just quit. So Super Rich was the news reader while I was doing the sideshow at the school for the Friday Sports Riot. And I thought, why not bring in Super Rich to be the co-host? And that's kind of how we built our friendship and the show. So from January 2014 to November, Super Rich, we went to a radio school. But where did we do our radio show?
We did it at Northwestern University. We are not that smart.
We are not that smart, Super Rich. We went to a radio trade school. But no. We did it at a big-time university, dude. And we had a fan base, man. It wasn't a fan base like Opie and Anthony or The Bone or 670 The Score. But, I mean, dude, we would get some calls, you know.
Yeah, we got some crazy calls at 3 in the morning on Sundays.
There was that one time we had that crazy broad. It's on the archive. I'm going to try and figure out a way to have an archive of just Hoppe and Super Rich because I missed that show, and it's officially back. But there was this one call. I think her name was Kara, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it was so funny. I don't know what was wrong with me. But she begins talking dirty on air, which any normal radio guy, Super Rich, goes, okay, whatever. Guess what I did, Super Rich? I get her address. I went to her house, and we made out for about 7 seconds in the basement. And she's like 57 years old. I remember...
Yeah.
And we did our show from like 12. Dude, we did our show from like 12 to 3 a.m. And I went to her house at like 4. I was just all like loaded up. And I thought she would be hotter. I thought she would have like the MILF look. And the best part, Super Rich, is when we would do our overnight show, we would get home around like 5 or 6. And have to go to bed, and then there'd be like an NFL game on at like noon, so we're tired all day that Sunday because the show is Sunday mornings 12 to 3. And I'll never forget, I called you at like 5 in the morning, and you just got home, and you're laying in bed, and you went, Hoppe, did you really go to her house? And I was trying to vent and rant, and you're like, dude, I got to go to bed. And then you hung up.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy because I didn't think you would actually go over there, but you did.
I will never forget. I will load up the clip, too. I mean, it was just... Didn't she sound kind of like a MILF with a smoker voice, maybe?
Yeah, possibly. That's a classic clip, though. That's like 10 minutes of pure gold.
She's just talking dirty to us. I gotta find that, dude, in the archive, man. Holy crap,
Yeah.
was that fun? Or how about all the times? So here's what we did. With the show at WNUR 89.3, we were actually heard in the Chicago radio market. You could hear it in downtown Chicago. It was a little bit faded, but it reached the whole suburbs. So we would get a lot of calls with music requests. Wasn't that fun, dude? Because our show was a hybrid mix of like FM talk radio and then top 40 hits. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty. I think it's a pretty interactive show.
It definitely was, man, because you remember how, like, I would pick a throwback, whatever a song, like Mike Jones, whatever. And then you would play, like, Sublime or something. It was such a unique mix of music. No, like Blink 182. I would play Mike Jones back then, and then you would play, like, Blink 182. To me, that's one of the most unique parts about Hoppe and Super Rich. Dude, was the fact that it was a mix of FM talk radio and then throwbacks from the 2000s. And, dude, we actually got calls of people that wanted us to play songs. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we got a lot of calls. I think that's probably what most of the calls were. They were mostly for song requests and stuff. And, I mean, it feels kind of good when you play somebody's song that they wanted to hear on the radio.
Yeah, like it means the world to them. Like, how about that time we got that call from Pennsylvania via the TuneIn radio app, and that guy was listening? Or it may have been like Rhode Island, but it was somewhere not in the Midwest, and he was just listening to our show at like 3 a.m.
Yep, I remember that.
And do you remember the schizophrenic guy that I would hang out with at the radio school? I forget what his name is. I'm not going to say his name. It doesn't matter. But do you remember when he would prank call our show? Because I would hang out with him at our radio school just because he would use his, like, welfare card, and he would get, like, free food at 7-Eleven, so he would buy me, like, Mountain Dew and like, Doritos during break at school. Do you remember that guy, Tony?
Yeah, what a great guy.
Remember the time he called our show as like Charles from Berkeley?
Yep, I remember that. That was weird. I didn't know it was him at first until after it happened.
Or how about, okay, so we went to this radio school. And it wasn't a bad school. It taught us radio. It teaches us Adobe Audition. We had teachers like Rich Rennick, Jonathan Hood. I mean, we got guest speakers. There's nothing wrong with the school. But there were a bunch of people that were like in their 30s, dude, who, I mean, anything can happen in life, Super Rich. They can make it in radio. But the problem was they weren't talented. And they're joining a school when the age that you're at is the age of morning show hosts that have been at it already for like 20 years. So Do you remember that one guy named Kevin, a.k.a., what was it, DJ Smitty, and how he would come to our school on drugs?
Oh, yeah. He had a great radio career in front of him, too.
He would talk about all the raves that he would host, and he would like tell me about these places. And I would look it up on, like, Google Maps, and it would be some, like, dump of a warehouse on, like, the south side of Chicago. And the best part about it was this guy creeped out everyone, Super Rich. One of the best parts about Smitty was when he would come high on coke and just creep out everyone in the hallway. And I was the douchebag in the class, Super Rich, where everybody wanted him to shut the hell up, but I saw it as entertainment. Remember that?
Yeah, but there was the one time where he had his job at Comcast, and you called, and they were trying to call him, and you answered his phone and pretended to be him, which was really
Oh, my God. There's this time he had this awful flip phone, and he gets the call, and he was high on coke that day. So we're in the back lab at school. So I answered, yeah, right. And I answered his phone, and I went, oh. And they're like, yeah, is this Kevin? I'm like, how's it hanging? And they're like, why aren't you at work? I'm like, because I'm sick. and then I hung up because they began saying, is this Kevin? What's your employee ID? And I didn't know, so I hung up. And do you remember how his phone vibrated like 4 times? Like they called 4 more times.
And then he got fired later that day, right?
But the funny part was he was going to get fired anyway. I don't want people to think that, like, I got the guy fired. Like, he would come hide to our school on coke and creep out all the girls. So it wasn't like he was employer of the month.
No, I don't think so.
Or how about that time? Oh, man, he was doing a drug deal in the back of the school lab. But he was talking about a VCR. He's like, yeah, I can get you a VCR half off if you bring the DVD player. And I would provoke him and talk to him and like blare his hip hop music. And everybody would get so mad at me in the class.
Well, everybody in the class was sort of beside themselves, I guess you could say. They didn't really... I feel like they took everything too seriously there.
Oh, yeah. Super Rich. I think it was safe to say that not many people in my class liked us, especially me.
I would have to agree with that, yes.
Well, what was funny about when I joined the radio school, Super Rich, was the fact that we had to do this speech on like the first few days of school. And I'm not a talented guy. I'm not coordinated. I didn't have much going for me. I was running off of the fact that I got to intern with Dahl during the summer, and then I was at a radio conference. And radio's my thing. It's my life. So for the opening part of our radio school, one of our first modules was public speaking. So we had to go up there for 5 minutes and talk about what we are good at. Now, there were kids, Super Rich, that made scrambled eggs. There were kids that drew comic... Remember that?
There was a lot of stupid things that happened that day.
There was a chubby girl.
Right? Yeah.
Do you remember when that one girl began dancing and getting sweaty to, like, Zumba dancing?
Yeah, she was dancing to moves like Jagger by Maroon 5, right?
So I go up there, and I just brag about what I did in radio for 5 minutes. And because of that, I specifically began the speech, Super Rich, by saying what I'm not good at. I was saying, I'm sorry, I'm not good at this, but I'm good at radio. And I talked about what I did. The class took it forever, Super Rich. They could not even move on. For the next year, they despised me. I would walk in at 9:40, and the class began at 9:30, Super Rich. And the reason I walked in late was because I just didn't feel like I needed to come to school on time. I'd come to work on time, but school, different. But everyone would get so mad at me, Super Rich. Couldn't you feel the vibe that they despised me?
Yeah, well, and you weren't the only one that was late. I walked in there. I mean, I would have walked in there sometimes after break.
And one of the best parts about when you walk in late to our radio school is it's a classroom. And everybody's sitting at like tables. Like there's 4 chairs to each table. And there's the table in the front of the room. So you have to walk by everybody while the teacher is talking and sign in. So every day it was like, if I was on time, that was at like 9:37. If the class begins at 9:30. Like I was never on time, Super Rich.
No, I don't think you were. And I was on time maybe half of the time.
I just didn't see a point of coming on time because it was all the guys who wanted to go into sports talk, which is fine, but they were just babbling about sports. And I'm like, I really don't need to be here on time. Like, I'm always on time to my job.
Yeah, and it's not just the sports. Because, sports talk is fine. I like sports talk. So the problem was it was the type of sports. These, it's either hockey or wrestling, and, you can't talk about it.
Oh, my God. The wrestling talk that we had to endure, dude. Oh, my God.
Unbelievable, really.
I couldn't believe my ears, dude. There was this one guy who would scream about the Monday Night Raw from the previous night. It's like, dude, it's already been decided. Wrestling's fine. I don't care. I'm not hating on people that like it. But these kids in our class would get so mad about it, dude.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of strange things, strange people, strange things to see during that year.
And one of the best parts about ICB was the fact that they had SportstownChicago.com where we were allowed to do the Friday Sports Riot. And now Super Rich. Most of the shows were just people breaking down sports, which is fine. Whatever. I liked your show that you did with Freeman because it was more laid back and you didn't act like you're an expert. Whatever. But I saw through a lot of sports talk shows because it's all these guys who are never good enough to play Super Rich. So then all they do is babble and talk smack. But what we did on our show, Super Rich, was a bit different. Wouldn't you agree?
I thought it was definitely different. We would talk about, like sports news stories, but not just that. We would also we had interviews every day, multiple interviews every show.
Every show. We would get anybody. Dude, we had 40 guests from 670 The Score, ESPN 1000, 104.3 The Fan, Yahoo Sports Radio, Hot 105.3 in Grand Rapids. We had people on from Milwaukee, CBS Sports Radio, Sirius Radio, 87.7 The Game during its time. Dude, we had 40 different sports media analysts on to break down sports. It was a run.
And we had people from all over the country. We had people in California. We had people in Cleveland, people in Washington, D.C., people in Denver. I mean, it was all over the country.
Dude, we had Mike North, the legendary Chicago sports host, on. We had basically half of 670 The Score and most of 87.7 The Game during its time on, dude. And we got criticized, Super Rich, because we weren't breaking down the sports. We were interviewing people and networking, trying to get our name out. And we got criticized, Super Rich. We needed to do what everybody else in sports radio does so you don't really make a name for yourself. We got criticized, dude.
Yeah, we did. And it's a shame that we got criticized. I feel like people don't understand what we did. We sort of modeled what the station sort of did after that, too. I mean, there's people all the time now on that station that have interviews all the time. We sort of pioneered that.
Oh, damn right we did. And we're not trying to sit here and act like we're great and act like we're legendary for the radio school or act like we are these pioneers. But we kind of were, because before then, it was just people turning on the mic talking about sports, which is fine. I don't care. But at the radio school, and it was called the Friday Sports Riot with great production, we would interview people and get their take on sports. It's kind of funny how we would have somebody from 670 The Score on, and then all of a sudden, that person went on another show 2 weeks later. And we're not saying that they're only allowed to go on our show, but it sort of made us feel good that we influenced people to get sports talk show hosts on. And people would come up to us, Super Rich, while we're in the break room outside of the room, and they'd go, "How'd you get Mike North? How'd you get Travis Rogers from Yahoo Sports Radio? How'd you get everybody from 670 The Score?" I'm like, Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah, you just sort of ask them to come on. And if I don't have too big of an ego, they'll say yes and come on.
I don't think anybody ever said no. Maybe the big time names, but I don't think we ever were told no. I think people maybe ignored it. I think I may have asked 48 people and we got accepted by 40.
Yeah.
What a run that was, dude. I'm not saying we deserve a plaque at the radio school, but we had 40 different people in the media business on the show, dude. If you combine their net worth, that'd be a lot of money for all their salaries.
Oh, yeah.
And what was your favorite memory out of us going to games, us hanging out at your house, us doing interviews, us goofing off at school? What was your favorite memory?
I don't know if I have a specific favorite memory, but I think my favorite memories would be doing the interviews on Friday Sports Riot. But that was always fun. I think when we went to a Bulls game and Joakim Noah got a triple-double.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah. He had like 5 that season or something.
That was when Rose went down. Rose went down in November that year.
Down for the second time. Yep. And let's see, there was also just a lot of the crazy antics at school. The people watching at school was sort of a fun memory, I guess you could say.
That is a good way to describe it. The people watching at our radio school. And now, we're not trashing the school because it taught us legit things in radio. It taught us how to use Adobe Audition. We had legit teachers.
It had nothing to do with the school.
It had to do with the people who joined the school.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
So, dude, I think Hoppe and Super Rich is going to be better than ever because I wouldn't say we had a fan base. I think we had listeners who would listen to the show. And we got listens because of the people we would network with and my followers on Twitter. People knew the show. But I'm not going to sit here and brag, but I want Best Local Podcast in Tampa Bay. You're better than ever. I really think this is going to be something special because we have the listener base from Cleveland and all the other markets that the previous show I worked for is syndicated in. And then we have Tampa Bay in a major market with all the listeners from 102.5 The Bone who are loyal and supportive. I really believe this is going to be something special, dude.
I hope so. I think we'll be able to pick up right where we left off with it last November.
And then the best part is we have more than one phone line, so we'll be able to give Ryan Risky and Timmer on, who is our video guy, and we'll be able to have all 4 of us on, and it'll be absolute gold, dude.
Yeah, I think it should be, and it'll be a lot of fun. There's always stuff to talk about. The news is getting weirder and weirder as we keep through time.
And what I liked about doing this segment was it's a lot easier to do a show when you have a co-host. Hoppe Hour isn't going anywhere. I'm going to keep doing it, but I want to do at least 1 or 2 Hoppe and Super Riches a week because I totally forgot how easy it was to crack on the mic and talk to you because we flow so well. You're the more quiet, really good newsman, which people will see. You are great at reading the news. I'm great at ranting. That's what made our show so good. And then Risky and Timmer were good as the 3rd and 4th mics.
Yeah.
So where can people find your work online and your show so they can listen?
Yeah, well, I do 4 podcasts a week for thesporto.com for Ohio State and Penn State sports, and I do that with Ryan Risky. So you can find that on thesporto.com. And also my show on sportstownchicago.com, which
damn right.
on Thursday nights, Sports Renegades from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Time. And that's also with Ryan Risky. And, yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Ryan Stupridge. And, yeah, that's pretty much the whole spiel.
I was debating if I wanted to do a show right out of the gate, but I thought we sort of needed to introduce ourselves to Tampa Bay, Cleveland, this and that, and even Chicago to sort of refresh the radio we did. So I think this was the perfect type of show, you know? Yeah,
just a thing to get people introduced back to the show or new listeners to the show, too. And yeah, we'll get back at it. There's a lot of crazy news out there, so it'll be easy to find stuff to talk and rant about.
All right, this has been Hoppe and
Super Rich.
I'm your host Ryan Hoppe saying peace out. Peace out, Super Rich.
See ya.
The Hoppe and Super Rich Show.
This is an official broadcast of Hoppe Radio. For more info, check out hopperadio.com and hoppesworld.com.